sitting here looking over my life, Lord. Let me take inventory. Can I take it? Can I take it? 'Cause I know you. I know you. I know you've been good to me, Lord. I come from a poor family. We didn't have much, but the Lord been good to me. Come from a poor family. We didn't have much, but the Lord been good to me. Come from a poor family. We didn't have much, but the Lord. Good morning. Welcome to the J.D. Hill Morning Show. My name is Richard Hairston. I want to thank you for joining me today. J.D. Hill gave me that call, and when J.D. Hill calls, you have no option. If you're in the hospital or if you're in the funeral parlor, well, maybe that's an appropriate and maybe acceptable excuse. But if you're up and breathing and moving around, well, J.D. calls and you got to respond. So good morning. And J.D. Hill, thank you for giving me a call, allowing me to come in this morning. We have a interesting headline this morning. Federal probe, Macomb County corruption. The trash hauler Rizzo is said to be in the center of a pay-to-play investigation. For folks who have been watching us on Wednesday's Crisis in Flint, Michigan, Leela McGee Harvey from Flint has really been talking about, Flint has had this problem with the trash haulers. It looks as though the company that they have used, I guess, over the course of a number of years, a contract that they've had overcome a number of years, has really expired. And they were attempting to bring in this same trash hauler, the Rizzo trash hauling company. There are some young people and enterprising young people who've been doing some investigations surrounding this Flint water crisis, and they kind of take the mantra that I guess most folks who are doing investigation follow the money, and a part of what they investigated, they cast a pretty broad net, and as they were looking at this change of trash haulers in Flint, Michigan, because now they went some days without trash being picked up, and then there's some question about who is going to pick it up, and even now there is a question regarding the current trash haulers versus wanting to bring in Rizzo, and now it looks like just based on some discussion, the old mayor, the previous mayor in Flint, Michigan, may have been involved in some pay-to-play as well, and that is to move out the current trash haulers and bring in Rizzo. One of the other things that I guess has occurred, and I guess we got Rizzo here doing some trash pickup in Detroit. It looks as though ownership has changed from, I guess, the Rizzo trash haulers to a Canadian company, which is kind of interesting in itself. Looks like we have a Canadian company that's actually doing trash hauling in Michigan, Detroit. Macomb is where the pay-to-play center of this whole thing has actually occurred. And now they are involved in, I guess, this whole corruption situation. If I could just read just a little bit of Rizzo Environmental Services pick up trash in multiple communities across Metro Detroit is at the center of a federal public corruption investigation that is expected to ensnare numerous local public officials in Macomb County. It was kind of interesting when you look at Flint, Michigan, the vote that they took on maintaining their current company
that's picking up trash or to bring in or to bring in Rizzo. Well, the city council in um, Flint, Michigan, voted 8-1 not to bring in Rizzo and to keep. I think it was Standard, to keep Standard, and so I guess you can assume that by virtue of the vote that they took, it looked like that maybe they're not involved in some of the corruption that some of the public officials are involved in. According to sources, Rizzo Services is a name a company that the FBI said paid between $50,000 and $70,000 in cash bribes to Clinton Township trustee Dean Reynolds. My goodness, for help in securing a lucrative contract. The former mayor seems to be at the center of that whole issue in Flint, Michigan. So we're going to see if we get Lily McGee Harvey on the line. She is our co-host, correspondent, sort of, I guess, in Flint, Michigan. So we want to get her on the line. So I want you to forgive me while I talk and try to dial as we try to engage Ms. Lily McGee Harvey. Also, maybe we can talk about. I attended a meeting on last night, and it was at New Era, Detroit. A group of young folks that I happen to respect quite a bit. Um, Folks, I can't chew bubble gum and talk at the same time. Um, but it was an interesting meeting on yesterday at downtown at Burt's, and they had Scott Benson in, who was actually there, I guess, giving details on what's involved in the CBA. And there was some interesting things that actually came out in that meeting. I happen to have left my copies of both of those proposals in my car, but we're going to try to talk about a little bit of that as well. And then I want to talk about also, since this election is coming up, I had a interesting text on yesterday that had to do with um, I guess a friend of mine. I think we've only met once, but they actually text me after every program. Just great texts. I mean, this is a legitimate historian and a spiritual powerhouse. Just from me reading a lot of his texts. And there was a question about responding to, I guess, something I said about Trump and Hillary Clinton, and it really forced me to kind of look at some things. I guess I guess there are a couple of things that I oppose with when I look at Trump. Trump brings in this kind of Republican philosophy, economic philosophy, and that is you create money, you give money, you take tax dollars, allow poor people, you force poor people to actually finance the very, very wealthy, and the idea that it ultimately trickles down and they invest more in the company, they create more manufacturing jobs and all kinds of jobs, and as a result, more jobs are available and more people in the economy actually get jobs. It has been really disproven that this economic policy does not work, especially when you give these tax breaks to these wealthy folks. And now they have been taking those dollars and they've been investing them overseas and moving plants from America to some of these overseas destinations, Mexico, of course, included, but in the Eastern realm, Taiwan and the Philippines and all of these other countries are now benefiting from it. And now we're looking at this Pacific Pact that they're trying to put together, and folks are a little concerned about it. Unions have been opposed to it for some time. Hillary Clinton has backed away from it. She was supportive of it initially because it is what is being proffered here in America by our current president, President Barack Obama. And there are some issues that are unresolved. Donald Trump has talked about wanting to go and take a look at some of these trade deals. So I want to talk about looking at the difference in I guess how you look at each of these candidates and why you're going to vote for them. Because I responded to a text that I can still see the mushroom cloud in the black community that was left by the omnibus crime bill. You talk about 600,000 black men that have ultimately ended up in prison since that time, and I guess under the auspices of these new crime legislation, just some stringent crime legislation. You have individuals who are in prison, for example, that have committed. A lady who committed one crime was transporting some cocaine, never committed a crime in her life, and she got life in prison as a result of it, and it was because it was mandated through the crime omnibus bill. So I want to look at that welfare reform. Welfare reform was touted by these Republicans for a long time. Bill Clinton got involved. Bill Clinton, who was characterized as, I guess, a part of the Republican or certainly conservative part of the Democratic Party. Welfare reform has proven to have hurt the economy in a significant way, but more so than that, have hurt and created more poverty in the black community. So, what the vestiges of what these Clintons have left us is still painful and very, very difficult to grapple with. But I do want to go to my friend and co-host in Flint, Michigan, just to kind of give us an update on this whole situation in Flint, Michigan, which I think may very well have sparked this investigation in Flint, Michigan, concerning the change of the trash haulers there. So, Lila McGee Harvey, thank you so much for responding at just such short notice.
Well, thank you for having me, Richard. It's always a pleasure to be there to kind of give you an update as to what's going on in the city.
Okay, well, I wanted to, I was kind of called in, kind of called to duty unexpectedly this morning. When J.D. Hill sent out a command that I should be here this morning. So, I mean, how could I refuse J.D. Hill? But what we've been talking about on our Wednesday program is that Flint, Michigan, and the mayor, Dr. Weaver, and a former mayor were kind of caught up in this flash in the pan surrounding changing trash haulers. I think, was it from Standard to Rizzo? If you can just kind of give us the background and a quick update on what happened and the fact that you guys were suspecting corruption all along.
Yeah, and let me first say, I can't include myself in it. We have to give that credit back to those individuals we always talk about, which is the advocates and the grassroots individuals that said they saw smoke and they believed it was a fire, and they did this way back in June. And it looks like the verdict is out. They're absolutely right. Everything that I'm going to state has either come out from city council, from the judges' chambers, or from MLive's articles. So none of these are my opinions or my words, but the facts of what I've read and been giving updates as it relates to our garbage issue.
Oh, very good.
Fast forward. Well, let's retro a little bit for a second. In June, there was 3 bidders who came in, but we're finding out, and there is testimony that they said there were 4 bidders. We have not been privy to the other one as of yet. And we've had Republic for the last 4 or 5 years, and it was time to renew the bid. Dr. Weaver wanted to, the mayor wanted to, and no one had an issue with that. The city felt that going with a 3-year bid was more financial, responsible, as opposed to going with a 5-year bid. Council decided that, the residents decided that they wanted to stay with Republic, and that they wanted to enter into a 3-year term and not a 5-year term, being that we were under receivership and the RTAP board was still here. The mayor opposed that, and one council member, which was Mr. Eric Mays, and the vote has always been 8-1 in everything that has everything that has been voted on relating to the garbage, the contract. And so if we start moving through, there has been probably 4 or 5 motions filed in court. There's been 3 TROs, which is temporary restraining orders, to keep Rizzo out. I have been called by former incumbents of city officials stating that they've never seen anything like this. These are not my words. These are other people's words. They've never seen anything like this. It's a very contentious environment right now in the city of Flint. We have 2 garbage trucks every day in our community. We have Republic and we have Rizzo on the same street at the same house. In some instances, it has become very heated and boiled. The people are speaking. And so if we fast forward, Friday before last, Rizzo, the mayor and the council are at odds. They were in court fighting to keep Republic there. She wants to pay Rizzo. Everybody's saying why. It came out from Kay Muhammad, who resigned early, and she was the one who has been at the city for 35 years herself. Gary Jones, who's the purchasing manager, and Mr. The financial CFO, Doodle. They all said that Republic was the lowest bidder. And so it came out in court yesterday again that Judge Farrah said that Republic is the lowest responsible bidder. They should be given a 3.5 preference for having a business located in our city. And the mayor did not want to give that to him because then it would make Rizzo the highest bidder. I could not tell you how many fights, how many lawsuits, how many motions, how many TROs have been filed. And so what has happened now is I watched, there was a special council meeting yesterday, and I watched the contentious crowd upset about the 2 garbage trucks, stating that that administration has made a man-made disaster that was not there. Judge Farrah has placed 2 TROs in place. The appellate court overturned those, but each time you had the water warriors with information. So let's fast forward to last Friday when they were in court arguing. Somehow the advocates got over to Canada to find out that Green for Life had purchased Rizzo, and this was not disclosed when Rizzo bid it on the contract for our garbage back in June. So here we are today, and it is ugly in the city of Flint.
We literally have all over Southeast Michigan a company out of Canada now who's bidding on these jobs, and a company like Republic who has been there, who really had the lowest bid. Why has the mayor, Dr. Weaver, been so intransigent about I guess not wanting to allow Republic, even though with some the decisions from judges, certainly she has been opposed by council with a supermajority, really. Why has she been so difficult to move off of this particular support of Rizzo? And here we are, we got Rizzo in the paper this morning, headlines, Detroit Free Press, who the FBI is saying has been actually passing out pay-to-play deals, and I'm assuming that it's not just in Macomb County, but it's all over the region.
Absolutely, and you have to keep in mind, one of the first things that I was told was when the mayor decided to go with Rizzo, people were not opposing her because that was her decision. Perhaps it would have slid through. When it was confirmed that the former mayor, Woodrow Stanley, was a consultant, and we knew that he was part of her advisory board here when she was running for office and when she initially was in office in the interim, then people began to say, we didn't elect Woodrow Stanley. We recalled him. Why are you doing business with Woodrow? And so that in itself sparked an investigation from the grassroots people who just were relentless. They never let go. They knew there was a fire. They knew something was going on. And you have to keep in mind that currently Republic we have 40 employees full-time who live in the city who pay the full tax to the city. And so if Rizzo consumes this contract and is afforded this contract, what happens is that we lose that tax base. So people are saying we're not understanding why you want to do business with this company, but in fact you did not disclose Green for Life purchased this company.
So a shadow has really been cast, and especially with the headlines today, that the shadow has been cast regarding the role that a former recalled mayor, Woodrow Stanley, and the role that he has played between Rizzo and the current mayor of Flint, Dr. Weaver.
Absolutely.
My goodness. Um,
Absolutely. It is really bad. Even for myself and my husband, our garbage has been missed, and so it's causing an issue in some places where you don't live on a main street, and you kind of live hidden away. People's garbage is not being picked up. That is causing mayhem down in the city. People are really upset. The voices have spoken. They said Republic. Most of the constituents in the city. If you listen to the council members who constituents are saying we want to stay with Republic. We don't want Rizzo. And so when the majority speaks, and keep in mind that Council 8-1 voted for Republic. They signed a resolution. They submitted the contract to give it to Republic, and she vetoed this. This is how it ended up with RTAB, which is the receiver transitionary board.
right.
From the RTAB, it went over to the judge's office. And I'm telling you, we've been in court 4 or 5 times. And so at first I did have a little compassion for it. I said, okay, let her choose whoever she wants to go, before they began to say, hey, something's wrong with this company. And I began to research and read the documents and read all of these documents that were coming out in the paper as it related to Rizzo's integrity. And if we're already under receivership, if we're already trying to rebuild our community and make it financially responsible, fiscal responsible, why are we going with such a company? And so now I'm asking the question, but more than that, we're saying the water was the emergency. The water was the emergency. And keep in mind, the TRO that was put in place was for only 90 days. It went up to November 11th. She wanted to block it 3 times to allow, within the judge offered a 90-day window for Republic to stay until they settled this agreement, this confusion. Rizzo and Republic have met with their attorneys behind closed doors. They come to a stance. The judge says, I'm going to put this TRO in place for 90 days up until November 11th that allows the city to go without interruption with their garbage, that allows you guys to work it out. And in every instance, she has filed a motion to bring Rizzo in simultaneously, and we're not understanding this.
It does appear to be extraordinary. She's gone through great lengths, actually, to change out Republic and to bring in Rizzo. It's a little interesting. I guess we're going to continue to learn more as this investigation continues with the FBI. Now we know that there has been a federal probe in Macomb County. And I guess we're going to continue to watch and keep a eye peeled to Flint, Michigan, to see how this thing works out in the end. Lena McGee Harvey, I do appreciate, and one of the things that you talk about that we appreciate about Flintstones, folks in Flint, is that you do have this grassroots group that's really uncovering some major facts surrounding, of course, this thing with the trash haulers, but also the fact that the citizens, the residents of Flint, were actually totally being flim-flammed as it relates to this whole water and Carragandi Water Authority scheme that was really being put together, and something that was really done, I guess, based on fracking and I guess water that's coming in to DTE, for example. Well, it looks as though the plans were that a water line would never really go into Flint, Michigan, because in order for them to get a bond, they could not have treated water.
That's
So,
right.
so they never really that they wanted the residents of Flint to pay for the system, but they really wanted Flint to continue to get water from the Flint River. And as fate would have it, and this perfect storm that I've heard you characterize, um, I guess you have the citizens of Flint that have been poisoned, but now it is revealed that there was this scheme afoot, and I guess a judge has forced them to build these pipelines, enforcing, I guess, water now from the Port Huron to actually ultimately is going to be served to the citizens of Flint. So this group is just extraordinary. And
Yes.
when you say grassroots, it doesn't suggest that I mean, these are people apparently with the wherewithal, with a level of education and drive, where they're able to do this, and I'm just amazed. I'm impressed with what they've been able
And
to
let me
do.
say this to you. Many of those individuals are former drug dealers,
My goodness.
had were former substance abuse. Whatever you could possibly think of, they have rectified their lives. They've made peace with their lives, and their commitment is to the community. And one of the positions that they always shout out about, and they're telling even the old incumbents that are in office, is that we're going to sit you down. We're going to recall you. We are the people. And it was alleged when I was watching the council meeting on Monday, where they stood up in the chambers and said, this does not belong to you, council, nor does it belong to the mayor. These are their words that I'm giving to you. It belongs to us, the people.
Mm.
And we're not seeking an office. We don't want money. We're not seeking any convoluted gift. What we want is our city to be ran right, and we want it to be responsible. And as some of us, as African Americans, have been irresponsible in the past, and we don't want it. And so you have this contentious spirit now, because now the people are saying, we elected you. We trusted you. We believed that you would turn our city around. We selected you over Dane Walling, who lied to us. And here's another issue that is storming and brewing, is the KWA and the cost of that water line. She submitted to signing that agreement with the county, and they're saying, why did you not fight the county the way you're fighting for Rizzo?
Mm. My goodness.
Why did you not fight for the people with the cost? And so I'm hearing that there is conversation about these grassroots taking up arms in some legal battle to undo what she's done, so that the residents of the city of Flint does not have to pay for the KWA.
And that's great, because I was disappointed when she had the opportunity to actually pull out of the KWA, and it would have fell on Genesee County to actually pick up the cost, and she failed to do it. I was very disappointed, actually. Lita McGee Howard, thank you so much. I know you
Thank you.
responded. I
Thank
know
you
you
for
set some
having me.
things aside, put some things back, but we really appreciate you so much. Again,
Thank you
thank
for
you.
having me.
Thank you so much. All right, folks, 868-0351, 868-0342, and 868-4336. If you have something that's on your mind you want to talk about, give me a call. How about the CBA? How are you going to vote? Based on what you've been hearing, and I know I read both proposals how it will appear on the ballot. I thought it was how they sort of structured. A was a little convoluted. B was pretty plain. So it's really left to us, for individuals who have not been hearing some of the analysis of it, didn't know what the origins of how A was put together, versus what happened with B. B being a reactionary kind of situation. I guess the mayor being opposed to A, because he says that it makes it more difficult for him to talk with these corporations and to bring work into the city. And then citizens are saying, that if we're going to give these folks tax breaks with special opportunities, and mind you, if you keep giving folks tax breaks, especially from corporations and businesses, then how can you ever expect to create a tax base where possibly there are programs and there are opportunities to really expand some of this growth and some of this prosperity out into the communities. If everybody that comes into town is doing it based on a welfare system. So, tell me what's on your mind. Also, what do you think? What is your big reason why you may be voting for Donald Trump and against Hillary Clinton, or vice versa? Why are you voting for Hillary Clinton and against Donald Trump? Inquiry minds want to know. So 868-0359, 868-0342, and 868-4336. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning, Richard.
Good morning. Thank you for calling.
You're welcome. Happy to see you on the show. You know, one of the things that we have to start doing is thinking for ourselves and doing for ourselves. Then they'll start paying us some attention. You know, as long as they got us thinking, you know what I'm saying, for them, then they ain't paying us no attention. And that's one of the things that's going on. And we have to do for ourselves. We have to quit waiting on them. We have a lot of money that we spend, you know, in the wrong direction. Instead of building up our community, instead of putting business, supporting the black business in our community. And that's one of the problems that we have. Until we start doing that, Richard, we can go until we blue in the face. They're not coming to save us. They haven't came and saved us in hundreds of years.
That's right.
I don't care who we put in office. You know, we put Hillary in there. She's only going to do so much. You know, but she's the lesser of the evil. So we have to put someone. We have to vote someone in there. You know, we've been voting for Democrats for years, and we look at the results that we have in our community. You know, they're not coming to get us. We have to save ourselves. Sometimes my mind wanders farther than it's, you know, and it scares me. Sometimes I think, why can't we build all these community and build black community and say, hey, we're going to secure it. We're not going to allow no black-on-black crime in our community. We're not going to we're going to put black business in there. You know what I'm saying? Why we can't think for ourselves? You know, that's one of the problems we have. You know, Richard, you've been out there fighting way longer than I have. You know what I'm saying? And look at the results we have in our community. We still fight. They poison and Flint. You know, they put the mayor of Kwame in jail for perjury. This governor is still in office. You know what I'm saying? They haven't fixed the water in Flint. It's still going on. They can't drink their water. You know what I'm saying? They're not listening to us, Richard. They pretend like they're listening to us. They're not. They're not going to listen until we stand up for ourselves and build up our own community and think for ourselves. That's the only way they're going to start listening to us, when we start spending our money with us and stop spending a lot of our money. We might not spend all our money with us because we might not have everything we need, but the majority of our money we can spend with us. Until we start doing that, man, they're not going to listen to us, man. Look at the people dying. People ain't got water. Come on now, Richard.
Cameraman, you have really had I mean, this has been your message for many years now, and I attended a New Era Detroit meeting on yesterday, and you know these young folks are out there in the communities, talking to folks, trying to provide them with service, letting them know that they can be empowered if we become unified. And they have really developed into a threat. You have police department, I think, has really created some trumped up charges on them. On one of them in leadership with these gun charges. This whole situation with with Bishop Jackson, where they protested inside of the sanctuary. I think that he has made a mistake, but he has taken these young folks to court, and he's attempting to prosecute them. I believe that what they are attempting to do is to perform a civil social abortion on this organization that I think gives us our best hope. It's not the last best hope, but it is one of the best hopes that we have, where you have people who are prepared to go out there every week, in some cases every day in communities where young girls are being snatched off the street and violate it, they are driving and walking through those neighborhoods, and then you have they're walking around providing all kind of services. They're on the buses providing food for individuals who are maybe disadvantaged, folks who are hungry, but literally thousands and thousands of meals they are providing on the buses on a regular basis. So the kind of programs that they have, there's a cash mob on the 23rd at Akbar's, where they are encouraging the community to come out and support this restaurant that's really been out there for many years, and I guess there's a shoe store that they're supporting as well, but this is kind of exactly what you've been talking about for years.
Yeah, and Richard, you know what's sad? You see the other day, they put that new chicken place out there. More blacks was in line to get a free meal way out in Troy, but they ain't gonna support Akbar. You know, like you said, we got to stop. We got to think for ourselves, man, and quit letting TV, the news, and everybody else put thoughts in our minds so we can think their way. We have to stop doing that, Richard. And I just wanted to say that. And I'm going to continue to listen, man, and I appreciate you, Richard.
I appreciate you so much, Cameraman. Thank you so much. Good morning, caller. You on the air?
Yeah, good morning, Richard. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Tom, how are you?
I'm doing good, and good morning to the Candleman. You know, as far as Proposal A and Proposal B, I'm voting for A. And one of the reasons is this. If you look at the threshold and Proposal A and where a CBA would kick in, we're talking about a $15 million development, and if there's a $300,000 tax incentive, all right, that the developer would get, as opposed to Proposal B, which is a $75 million threshold in terms of where it would kick in, and then it would have to be $1 million in terms of tax incentives that the developer would get. So, you know, if Proposal A doesn't happen, you're talking about developments of up to $74,999,000.99 would not have to have city council approval, in a manner of speaking, because, you know, it just says $75 million and $1 million in tax incentives.
You know, when you look at that,
that's one of the reasons I'm voting for Proposal A.
Tom, when you look at the level of whatever the investment is, and we're talking about from 15 to 75,
right.
You know, you're really looking at the opportunity for a community to sit down and negotiate any number of things. It's not restricted to just jobs. These businesses should come in with the full intention of creating some kind of goodwill with that community, and they should be offering some jobs.
And you know what? I'm going to give you a case in point. That Myers store over here, the Kmart that was there once was.
Yes.
I was involved with the group. We called ourselves
the
Advisory Council for Economic Development. And we worked closely with Kmart in terms of a community benefit. And, I mean, we didn't make any demands on Kmart, but, you know, most of the stuff that we asked for, Kmart acquiesced, and they worked with us. When I was working as neighborhood city hall manager, and the territory was up here on the northwest side of town, that came up on 8 Mile and Telegraph. Former police officer Fred Williamson and the group that he was leading, they asked for certain things to be done, and Kmart acquiesced with them. And, I mean, there was no, nothing legally binding that said Kmart had to do anything, but at least with Proposal A has teeth in it, okay, that, will hold the developers' feet to the fire. That, okay, if you come in, you got to hire so many people from Detroit residents, okay, and they might want a street fixed or maybe some more lighting put up and that kind of stuff. So if they fall short on that, they can, just like the other day with the Red Wings development down there, they're not up to snuff.
They're getting fined. The city is actually finding them, but these folks they have thumbed their nose at us. Marathon Oil promised to create so many jobs and to actually give some of these contractors, black contractors, work, and they always brought back a lot of excuses. I mean,
well, yeah.
I mean,
and, they don't have. if you don't have something in writing with somebody's signature on there, I mean, tough. All right, word of mouth ain't worth a doggone.
I mean,
now let me shift the gear to.
Well, let me say this
Sure.
before you conclude that. I'm not saying that A is perfect.
Right, no, it's not.
That there's some issues regarding the tracks. That there is an element of it that seems to smell a bit like regionalization when you're talking about these census tracts. But this is a Detroit bill.
Right.
And only Detroiters, as far as I'm concerned, should be able to participate. And I believe that once we pass A, I think we can begin talking to city council and begin to make the necessary adjustments so that we can identify what groups can participate in these negotiations. And maybe some training can be developed that can demonstrate the most effective way, the best practices for community groups to actually sit down and negotiate with these corporations. But yes, Tom, your next point.
I concur with you. You know what? And in terms of proposal A versus B, I asked the question. I says, well, wasn't there any kind of effort to pull the A and B people together to sit down at a table to see if they could, find a median in there where they could agree, both sides agree and say, well, we got something for A, we got something for B. Now let's just put one proposal on it.
Your next point.
They said that the B people would not even, give that any consideration.
Really? Mm.
Okay. Now
your next point.
To this election, okay, I'm voting for Hillary Clinton. I mean, this woman has proven that she has the sound mind and temperament to sit in the seat that is the most powerful seat in the world, and that is the office of the President of the United States. I mean, Donald Trump, God, I didn't mean to bring his name up, but the man's a loose cannon. He's xenophobic. He's misogynistic. He's racist. He's bigoted. But Clinton, I mean, there's no perfect candidates, folks. I mean, both of them have what you say, baggage. I mean, I think Trump has these great big old, these steamer trunks that you know what I'm talking about in terms of baggage. He
Yes.
doesn't have the soft fold over luggage that that they bring with them. But I mean, other than her that disparaging remark about the deplorables, she's taken the high road in this thing. All that other opponent has done from the 15 months ago all the way up until now, he's done nothing but, he's running a campaign based on fear-mongering. And, I mean, the man's a bully. He bullied all the other 15 or 16 candidates who ran against him, and now he's even attempted to do the same thing to Hillary, because if you notice in that debate, I mean, he almost invaded her personal
He
space.
really tried to tower over her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like he was ready to pounce on her.
Yeah, I agree.
And I mean, somebody like that, especially when you've got to, I know you got a Secretary of State, that does this kind of stuff, but sometimes the president has to come in and sit down with these folks and do some negotiating, what have you. And she's got the sound mind and temperament that if she has to go there, because she's been there and done that she can effectively sit down there and, work out something with them. But,
Tom,
Trump is a dangerous, dangerous man. I mean, I'm going to end my statement with this. Can you imagine a call coming in at 3:45 in the morning on the red phone, and that fool's got to answer the phone?
He probably put it on hold and finish what his Twitter message is. Tom, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Richard, Deputy Chief. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for calling.
Good to see you. Look, Richard, first of all, I just want to make the announcement, if I can, that I'm supporting Proposal A.
Of course.
And I'm coming on TV 33, spending my money Tuesday from 11 to 12 to educate the citizens viewing audience on what a legitimate CBA is.
That's a good thing, Tom. I'm sorry. That's a good thing, Deputy Chief.
There's so much misinformation being put out, and they're giving examples that don't even apply to what a CBA is. Now, take, for example, Tom. I'm glad Tom is supporting A, but the example that he's given about Kmart and who they work with and this, that, and other, that's all well and good. Kmart they just sat down with Tom's group, and they just took the attitude that we'd be good corporate neighbors, and that's great. But see, a CBA, what happens is the host community group, which is a coordinated group of labor, religious, community, small business, they sit down with the developer and they negotiate. Nobody is holding a gun to anybody's head. It's called negotiation. That's what a CBA is, okay? And like I said, labor is already a part of it.
Well, let me ask you this.
Two different things here.
Let me ask you this, Deputy Chief.
Yeah.
One of the points that Scott Benson labored on last evening over at the New Era meeting was this thing about the census tracts and how other communities can be involved in a process, and if they wanted to hold it up, if they wanted to make sure that Detroiters didn't get jobs, but this is what he said, then they could literally hold that whole process up. Well, what do you think about that part of A?
Okay, I'm glad that you brought that up, Richard, because I was going to ask if anybody attended it to talk on it, and I can clear it up. Scott Benson, he can't give you accurate information of a CBA because it's not his bill or it's not his proposal. This is the mayor's proposal, the mayor and Tom LeWine. That's why Benson can't explain it.
So the census tracts.
The census tract has nothing to do. There's 125 successful CBA agreements across this country. Nowhere in that 125 do it address a census tract. In the community benefit agreement community, what it is called the footprint of the development. That's just like, say, the hockey arena. The footprint, the area around that development, that's negotiated between the host community group and the developer.
And it doesn't necessarily have to include people from other communities. Look
exactly.
at Deputy Chief. That's 11 o'clock on Tuesday. I got to let you go. I want to get these other callers, but that's 11 o'clock on Tuesday.
On Tuesday. So everybody have your pencil and pen.
Look, I got to go. And I thank you. We'll be tuned in on Tuesday. Hello, caller, you on the air.
Good morning, Richard.
Good morning.
I just want to say that the reason I'm voting for Hillary Clinton is I want to preserve President Obama's legacy, and I think she will do that. The president is for her. The first lady, you heard that brilliant speech last night. It was great.
Wasn't it amazing?
And I made it my business to look beyond the personalities because we have a lot at stake here. We have to get our judges on the bench, and we need someone like Hillary to nominate some of these progressive judges. We've got the Supreme Court to think about. We can't let another Donald Trump get in there and do this. Yes, I'm voting for Hillary for the reasons I stated and beyond that.
You're talking about 3,000. You talk about 3,000 appointments that these folks are going to make. But we also have to think about what we need to do, and that is to get Judge Deborah Thomas in, and that's extremely important. We got to go to the post. I can't even take my last caller. I am so sorry. Folks, I got to go. Mrs. Perryman is up. Always has an extraordinary show. I mean, it's kind of like a magic mystery ride because she has all kind of guests. I'm always jealous of what she's able to do and who she's able to get to. I got to go. Thank you so much for being with me this morning. I'll be back with you on Monday, and we'll talk a little more about these CBAs. I appreciate being with you. God bless you, J.D. Hill. God bless all of you. I got to go.
Lord, I'm just sitting here looking over my life, Lord. Let me take inventory. Can I take it? Can I take it? 'Cause I know you. I know you. I know you've been good to me, Lord. I come from a poor family. We didn't have much, but the Lord been good to me. Come from a poor family. We didn't have much, but the Lord been good to me. Come from a poor family. We didn't have much, but the Lord been good to me. Let me tell y'all something. I didn't have no money. How many of y'all were like that? A lot of my friends thought that was funny, but I'm so glad to